Welcome to today's Explainer. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Picture this. It's Juneteenth holiday weekend. You've got this great idea for a peaceful morning round of golf, right? Well, scratch that. It quickly turns into a brutal 6 a.m. drive. We're talking over an hour stuck in heavy, stop-and-go traffic, just crawling from Flushing out to Long Island. And why the massive backup right at the crack of dawn? Well, it's U.S. Open week at nearby Shinnecock Hills, and man, the energy in the air is literally palpable.
The source material actually describes this whole experience not just as a drive, but as a pilgrimage to the U.S. Open. It's like you've got all these die-hard golf fans flocking to the area, and they're acting almost like religious pilgrims heading to a shrine. They're buying up souvenirs just to, bless their own games, literally begging the golf gods for some birdie and eagle charms.
So, that brings us to the big question for today. How on earth does an everyday amateur golfer survive a pro-level gauntlet? Our player here is taking on the 6,300-yard white tees at Swan Lake Golf Club. It's a gorgeous, crisp 20°C summer morning. Sounds absolutely idyllic, doesn't it? But as you're going to see, this layout is incredibly punishing. Surviving it? Yeah, that requires a very specific game plan.
Section 1. The U.S. Open Pilgrimage and Navigating Cart Policies.
Right when you check in, boom, you're hit with an unexpected curveball. Mandatory golf carts only on weekends and holidays. Now, the course does this to keep the pace of play moving, which makes sense. But for an amateur trying to find their groove, it's kind of frustrating. If you're the type of golfer who loves the steady, rhythmic pace of just walking with a pushcart to build up your tempo, getting forced into a motorized cart completely changes the whole flow of your morning. And this is before you've even stepped foot on the grass.
Section 2. Surviving extremely narrow fairways.
Now keep this number in your head, 15. You have a maximum 15-yard margin of error off the tee. 15 yards. Unlike your casual, beginner-friendly municipal course where a wild slice might just land safely in the next fairway over, here, no way. If you deviate more than 15 yards, you are instantly in the trees, plunging deep into a bunker, or splashing into the water. This course absolutely demands precision right out of the gate.
So how do you actually counter something like that? It comes down to gear strategy. For our player, pairing the Ping 440K driver with a Fujikura TR Speeder 569 shaft was an absolute lifesaver. This club is specifically designed for high forgiveness. When you're staring down a fairway that gives you literally zero room for error, a highly forgiving club minimizes those tiny swing deviations, keeping your tee shots safely tucked inside that super tight 15-yard window. It kept the ball in play, and honestly, that is half the battle out there.
But, every choice has a consequence, right? Let's talk about gear limitations. Using the Callaway Chromesoft X Ball gave great durability, but it totally lacked the raw, booming distance of something like a Pro V1. Plus, the high spin meant the ball would just bounce twice and stop dead. No helpful rollouts whatsoever. Because of that lack of distance off the tee, our amateur had to heavily rely on mid-irons and fairway woods just to survive those daunting second shots.
Section 3. Conquering blind tiered greens.
Let me tell you, the greens at Swan Lake are absolute fortresses. We're talking 15 to 20 yards wide, over 30 yards long, with severe 60-centimeter elevation changes. These aren't just your standard, flat greens. They're essentially narrow, elevated cannon platforms pitched on steep slopes. For an amateur who doesn't have tour-level iron accuracy, trying to land and actually hold a ball on these tiny slivers of grass is a borderline unfair challenge.
So, what's the game plan? How do you attack this? Well, here are the steps to survive. First off, you just have to accept the blind shot. The course brilliantly uses elevation, trees, and small grass mounds to totally block your line of sight on the doglegs. Second, you want to club down to a mid-iron or wood just to maintain control. And third, carefully navigate your way around the hidden bunkers. This was especially tricky because some of the sand was heavily watered down, making it incredibly tough to dig the ball out cleanly.
Now, when your iron game is struggling to hit these fortress-like targets, you desperately need a backup plan. Enter the ultimate lifesaver, a pre-round putting routine. Because greens in regulation, or GIR, was a punishingly low 30%, dedicating serious time to the practice green before the round was absolutely essential. The greens were running at a really smooth but fast 9 to 10 speed. Reading those slopes beforehand was literally the only way to survive once you actually got on the dance floor.
And just look at the payoff. 6, that is 6 miraculous one-putts from over 10 steps away. It was an absolute putting masterclass. Honestly, kind of a Father's Day miracle. When your approach shots are consistently leaving you with these long, agonizingly difficult putts, sinking 6 of them like this is exactly the kind of magic you need to keep your final score hovering right there in the highly respectable mid-80s.
Section 4. Pacing the mental game.
But as we all know, golf isn't just about the course itself. It's heavily influenced by who you play with. During this round, our amateur was paired up with 3 Pilgrim partners. These were younger guys from New Jersey, 2 of them actually in the Army. And get this, they were playing a massive 36-hole doubleheader, morning and afternoon rounds, right before heading over to watch the US Open the very next day. I mean, that is some incredibly serious dedication and athletic stamina, right? This dynamic created a really stark contrast in play styles out on the course. On one hand, you've got these Army power hitters. They're just bombing the ball massive distances, but they're spraying it everywhere. The source literally compares it to fireworks going off in every direction. They spent a good chunk of the round just hacking around, searching for balls in the deep rough. But on the other hand, you have our steady amateur. Way less distance, sure, but highly disciplined, consistently finding the fairway and playing with a really rhythmic, predictable flow.
So, what's the crucial takeaway from that kind of grouping? You have to stick to your own rhythm. When you're paired with long-hitting partners who are just spraying the ball left and right, it is so incredibly easy to let them completely ruin your tempo. Especially when playing under standard US rules, where you drop a ball after a brief 5 to 10 minute search, you absolutely cannot let their chaotic pace rush your own shots or tempt you into swinging way harder than you naturally should.
Section 5. The final amateur verdict.
So, after a highly efficient 4-hour and 5-minute holiday round, here is the blunt drop the mic warning from our amateur. This course is simply not for the 100-plus beginner. Look, while it is beautifully maintained with incredible attention to detail, making it an absolute dream for mid to low handicappers, if you are a beginner, this layout will completely devour your golf balls. Between the extremely narrow fairways and the thick rough, you are going to spend way more time searching than actually swinging.
Which brings us to the very end of today's explainer, and I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Are you ready for your own golf pilgrimage? Do you have the forgiving gear required to find those insanely tight 15-yard fairways? Have you dialed in a flawless putting routine to conquer those blind cannon platform greens? And maybe most importantly, do you have the steady mental rhythm to just ignore the fireworks going off around you? Think about that the next time you tee it up on a pro-adjacent gauntlet. Thanks so much for joining me today.